Hey guys, welcome back to Bookmas 2019, and it is now finally Christmas Eve. Tomorrow is Christmas. Today we are going to go through my list of my top 10 favorite Christmas movies. Probably my favorite thing about Christmas movies is just how happy and uplifting they are. For the most part, they generally have really happy messages. They're usually happy all the way through, although there are some exceptions. But I personally really like the ones that can also have a bit of an emotional punch, as well as being just really happy. At number 10, we have The Santa Claus. Now, this was made in 1994, and it is such a quintessential 90s Christmas movie. It's really fun. I just love the premise of this man kind of accidentally becoming Santa Claus and having to adjust to this whole environment. There are moments when it is shamelessly over the top and goofy, but I kind of love it. That's part of the charm, because it just embraces what it is wholeheartedly. And it actually does a fair amount with its premise. Also, there are actual serious moments with this, especially around the character of his son. At number 9, we have White Christmas. This is one of the most classic Christmas movies you could ever have, short of maybe like It's a Wonderful Life or something like that. It's so much fun and so just upbeat and interesting and happy. It is very much like a 1950s era musical, and you can see it coming through massively. Even like the main cast. I grew up with a lot of these actors because I was raised on old movie musicals, so a lot of these actors, Bing Crosby especially, I've seen in tons of different movies, so it's really, really interesting seeing them in this kind of movie. I love the music in this movie. The costumes are really interesting. The production value of the songs and musical numbers is really, really cool. There are a couple moments that haven't aged well, shall we say, but for the most part, it's actually pretty timeless in that way, mostly. Also, one thing that I connected with a lot as a kid is that the two female leads in this movie are actually sisters, and they have a whole song about it, and of course I have two sisters, so yeah, I enjoy that too. At spot number 8, we have Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. This is a movie I haven't seen in a long time, but I did see it a lot when I was a kid, and I remember really liking it. I love Christmas Carol, and this is basically a Christmas Carol as told with Disney's most iconic cartoon characters, I guess you would say. You know, like it has Scrooge McDuck as Scrooge, and Mickey is in it, and Donald, like all of those guys. It does it really well and has a lot of emotional punch. There are moments that can be really, really heavy. Like the one moment that sticks in my head even to this day is, I think it's Scrooge reacting to after the Ghost of Marley, or the Ghost of Marley character has told him there will be 3 spirits, and he's just kind of half scoffing, half scared. He just says like spirits in this sort of dismissive tone. But you also feel really sad for this character. It's a really well done version of Christmas Carol. Number 7 is Home Alone 2. Now, I did grow up with both 1 and 2 for the Home Alone movies, but I actually remember seeing Home Alone 2 first, even though it's very, very similar to Home Alone 1. Home Alone 2 is somehow a movie that manages to capture like the whimsy of Christmas and like the happy, hopeful stuff, but also like the sad sides of Christmas, and it does it really well. And also just the actual premise of what happens in this movie is really entertaining to watch. And Tim Curry is amazing. That's one thing this movie has that the first one doesn't, is Tim Curry. It's funny, because as a kid, I actually didn't like his character, because every time I saw him, I was like, no, something bad's gonna happen. But now watching it as an adult, it's like, Tim Curry is awesome, and he's absolutely hilarious in this role. Number 6 is the 2009 version of A Christmas Carol. Now, yeah, this is not the first time Christmas Carol has popped on this list, and it probably isn't going to be the last either. But it's just such an amazing, enduring story, and I do actually really like the way this version does it. There are a few moments where it's a bit much, but it really leans into the kind of ghostly aspects, which are very much a part of the story. It's also one of the most creative visually. I absolutely love what it does with the Ghost of Christmas Past's look. The way the design for this character is so interesting. It kind of looks like a candle almost, and it works really well because the description is so vague that, yeah, a candle makes perfect sense based on what we know, especially with the snuffer hat that he has. So yeah, I love this version. Number 5, we have VeggieTales: The Star of Christmas. Now, I grew up with VeggieTales, so all of the characters in this movie, that is my childhood. Just hearing these voices is super nostalgic for me. But this movie, it does genuinely have a really good story, and the characters fit really well. So the premise is, it's 1880s London, and Cavis Apythart and Millward Phelps, which are Bob and Larry, are putting the finishing touches on their first Christmas musical, The Princess and the Plumber, filled with spectacle and more electric lights than London has ever seen. Cavus is convinced his impressive show will teach London to love. Unfortunately, a church Christmas pageant staged by little Edmund Gilbert, which is Junior Asparagus, is opening the same night right down the street and features the Star of Christmas, a priceless artifact that hasn't been seen in 80 years. Just how far will Cavus go to make sure his show opens on top? So this movie is really funny, but it also is genuinely touching. I actually mentioned in my top 10 favorite Christmas songs that the credit song from this movie is the reason that I now like the song O Come, O Come Emmanuel and why it made my top 10 list. So this movie has a lot of heart, the characters are really funny. Like, it's one of those movies that's made for kids, but honestly I still love as an adult. At number 4, we have Home Alone. Now, one of the reasons this ranked higher than the second one is because the second one in many ways is kind of a retread of the first, and as a result this movie does kind of feel a little bit more investing to me now having seen both of them. In some ways, the feel of this movie almost actually reminds me a little bit of Christmas Carol because it has more of a lean on the humor than Christmas Carol, but it does still have like a genuinely scary undercurrent at times, like with the creepy stories about the neighbor, and also the fact that the main plot of this show is the main character trying to stop these two from robbing his house on Christmas with him in the house. And then he is, yeah, there's some scary stuff later on. But it works really well. Kevin is really interesting to watch because it's like, is this kid slightly scary at times? Yes. But that being said, it's really interesting seeing how he comes up with all these clever ways to kind of trick these two so that they don't rob his house and potentially hurt him. So yeah, his traps are very, very creative, which I really like. And the subplot with his mom of her trying to get back to him is really touching too, because you can see that she genuinely feels horrible about what's happened, and she wants to make sure her son is safe, because she does feel guilt, but she's more acting just out of genuine terror for her son's safety. So yeah, it's like, is there a bit of a guilt complex? Yeah, but that's like, you know, she should feel some guilt. But everything she does during her main subplot is motivated by love. Also, Catherine O'Hara does a really good job of the role of the mom, because while she makes you feel bad for her and cheer for her, she's also really funny at times. And these two as the thieves are also amazing. For number 3, we have The Nativity Story. I haven't seen this movie in a long time, honestly, just because I haven't had access to it. We only got this movie recently. But it's such a good movie. Like, what this is the story of the first Christmas, but it's told in a dramatic, interesting way. There are quite a few movie adaptations of the story of Christmas that are not interesting or well done, shall we say. But this one doesn't do that. This one, it really puts some thought into what it would have been like for Mary and Joseph in this environment and what their relationship would have been to each other. And incidentally, Joseph is played by Oscar Isaac, and he is amazing in this role. He gives Joseph a lot of depth. I've never actually seen Joseph portrayed with this level of depth before, and Mary as well is done very, very well. This is a bit more of an intense version. There are moments where it's kind of genuinely scary, actually, because there was real danger when Jesus was born. King Herod is definitely in this, and if you know the story of Christmas, yeah. One thing I really like, though, about this movie is that in addition to focusing on the external conflicts of the societal pressure that Mary and Joseph would have been under, and also the danger to baby Jesus, a huge focus in this movie is the relationship between Mary and Joseph themselves. Because we don't hear very much about it in the Bible, but what we do hear is quite interesting. So I really like that this movie digs into that and kind of explores it a little bit more, and I cannot wait to start watching it again so I can actually kind of re-see all of that. At number 2, we have Arthur Christmas. Now, this is one that I didn't really hear anything about, honestly, until I moved in with my roommate, Madison. She's appeared on the channel before. I'll link one of the videos with her. And she showed me this movie, and it's way better than I was anticipating. The trailers didn't really do a very good job of advertising this movie, but it has a lot of heart. Basically, the emotional core of this movie is the heart of Christmas. What is the purpose of Christmas? Is it something where we just want to get everything done and to get all the presents out and get everything finished, or do we want to really focus in on the people and show how much we love each other and how much we care about the people around us? Because that's the conflict, basically. If you're not aware, the premise of this movie is that there is a family that is actually the Claus family. So Santa, rather than being a single person, it's a title that gets passed down from father to son and has been over the many, many years. They are a bit of a long-lived family, I think they commonly live to over 100 years old, but they are actual, mortal people, and they do eventually die of old age. So yeah, inherit the title. The main character, Arthur, is actually the second son. Oh, and by the way, their last name is Christmas, not Claus, sorry. The older son, who's actually played by Hugh Laurie, is very, very good at managing the administrative side of things. He has the whole system running like clockwork, and at this point, their father is still technically Santa Claus, although their grandfather's alive and he lives at the North Pole with them. But he doesn't really appear to have much emotional connection with the children these presents are going to. So that's kind of his problem, whereas Arthur's the exact opposite, where he cares about every single child so much. He actually runs the letter room, so he gets all the letters from the children and he answers all of them and he cares so much, but he's kind of disorganized and not great at actually implementing his ideas. So this kind of shows the struggle between them. There's also a lot of really, actually surprisingly realistic family politics between their father and grandfather and them, and yeah, and their mother as well. Their mother is awesome incidentally. Mrs. Claus is amazing in this movie, or I guess Mrs. Christmas, but whatever. Also, the elves are fabulous because they're basically ninjas, and it's great, and I love them. And number one is, yeah, I'm sad I don't own this movie because I can't find it anywhere, but it's Muppet Christmas Carol. I love this version. It totally captures the feel of Christmas and kind of what A Christmas Carol was going for as well. Michael Caine is great as Scrooge, and just, I'm not even sure how to say it, but just when you watch the movie, yeah, it's occasionally spoofing A Christmas Carol, but at the same time, it is A Christmas Carol. It somehow manages to get it while also kind of making jokes about it. Also, Statler and Waldorf as Marley is freaking hilarious. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, you guys. It has been fantastic going through Bookmas with you guys. This has been a lot of fun. So thanks for sticking with me. Have a wonderful rest of your December. I will probably post a video next week, but I'm not gonna do the everyday thing anymore. What kind of Christmas movies do you enjoy watching, and do you agree or disagree with any of my points on these ones? Have an amazing rest of your December and a wonderful day. Merry Christmas.